So welcome guys to the first official full-length online class. Same rules apply here. Listen to your body first, listen to my words second, especially in an online format where I really can't see what's going on. I can't change my verbiage or the poses that we're doing based on what's happening with the group. So truly listen to yourself. If something doesn't feel right, we don't do it. That's one of my most main and most driven home kind of rules. And with that being said, I invite you to find any easy seat that works for us today. It could be cross-legged, it could be kneeling, it's whatever we need. We'll let our hands rest however we want them to rest. And it might feel good to let our eyes close today. And what we might do first and foremost is take a moment to give ourselves explicit permission to give ourselves the next hour and 15 minutes to our yoga practice. One of the reasons group classes work so well is that the environment gives us that permission. When we are at home, that permission is a little harder to come by. So this is our chance to try our best to devote the next hour and 15 to ourselves and to our yoga practice. And then if it works for us, we'll take a moment just to notice our breath. We can remind ourselves that our breathing pattern is neither good nor bad, at least not inherently. It is just an indicator. Especially in times of stress, uncertainty, anxiety, our breath can get very shallow. Our breath can get very rapid. So just noticing where the breath is at right now. Again, no judgments. We can even remind ourselves that that breathing pattern is there for a reason. Our body is trying to help us, even if that help feels a little misguided. And then if we can, we're going to try our best to find some deeper breath. So maybe we can find a fuller inhale and a fuller exhale. And that's all we might need right now, just noticing our breath in, noticing that breath out. And today might be a day that we're really focusing on that one breath meditation. So sometimes when we meditate, we're trying to focus on our breath for as long as possible until the mind inevitably wanders away. Perhaps today, especially if we find our mind is a little more charged than it usually is, the baseline's a little higher, perhaps instead of doing that, we notice if we can give all our attention to one breath in and one breath out. We might repeat that, doing one breath in and one breath out. And if we need to give ourselves a moment to just let the mind wander, let certain thoughts run its course, we can. And if it's possible, we try to do a one breath meditation again, just noticing our inhale and eventually the exhale. So we might do this a few more times. Again, just giving all our attention, if we can, to just one breath in and one breath out. And perhaps we do this for just a few more breaths. And again, we don't have to focus on each and every single one. Today might be even a day that we add in some audible breathing. So what we might do is what's known as victorious breath. So we could think of a slight constriction in the back of the throat, the same that we do when we fog up a window or whisper. Only we'll keep our mouth closed and still breathe through the nose. And perhaps we can make a bit of noise as we breathe in and as we breathe out. This is also known as ocean breath or Darth Vader breath. I know for me, when it's very hard to focus on the breath, I like being able to hear it. And for those who have their volume up might have noticed that I've been doing Ujjayi breath the entire time. So again, we might just give ourselves a few more moments here, just a few more breaths. Now, if we would like, we are welcome to bring our hands together at the heart. It could be palms together. It could be palms straight over the heart. It's up to us. We'll pause to set that positive intention. And today might be a day that we try to think of that positive trait, one that we feel that would really help carry us, especially as we're doing things from home. And is it possible to let that be our focus for today, as if today's practice could help cultivate that very trait? And then we'll take in the inhale that we need. The exhale could rest our hands against our legs. And always mindful the eyes could stay closed for as long or as little as we need. And we might start first with our shoulder rolls. So we might shrug our shoulders up to the ears and then relax them back down. So again, just letting them shrug upwards, letting them relax down. And what we might do today as we start to repeat this movement at our own pace is to notice if our shoulders can completely relax when they hit the ground. So what we might do is we might shrug them down and then pause for a moment and just let those shoulders completely relax. We might even find a little micro drop that happens. Again, we carry our stress in our body. As Besser Van der Kolk would say, the body keeps the score. So when we are stressed, we tend to hold those shoulders up to the ears. And this is just our moment to help release that down. Now we are welcome to stay with this movement. If we would like to come into shoulder drops, which are slightly more exaggerated versions of those mini drops we're doing right now, what we might do is we might relax the shoulders all the way down for a moment. We'll bring our shoulders straight up to the ears if we can. We're pausing for a few extra breaths. And then on an exhale, we're just going to let them completely drop. And we'll pause here. We're going to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. We might do that again. We'll bring our shoulders straight up to the ears, pausing here if that's possible. And any exhale of our choosing, it might even be an audible sigh. We can let them drop. We pause. We take that breath in and we take that breath out. One more time. We'll bring our shoulders straight up to the ears if we can. Deep breath in. And on the exhale of our choosing, we'll let them drop. And we pause. We might take that breath in. And maybe on our exhale, those shoulders can relax just a little more than before. And if we're ready, we'll come into our tabletop position. So whether we want to roll over our shins or swing the legs around is up to us. We'll just reposition ourselves on our mat so we're facing lengthwise on that mat. And we'll do a few cat-cow movements from here. So if it feels good, we'll just drop our belly down with a deep breath in. We'll round our back up with that deep breath out. And we're just going to repeat this movement if that feels good. So we're going to drop our belly down. We're going to round the back. We're just going to repeat this movement, and I invite you to let that breathing pattern sync up with our movement. So especially in my classes, there is no such thing as a right breathing pattern or wrong breathing pattern when it comes to cat-cow or really any movement. So it's okay if we want to inhale as we round our back and exhale to drop the belly. That has benefits just as many as exhaling to round the back and inhaling to drop the belly. We're just going to do this a few more times if we can. And then we can choose whichever pose we want to end on. Maybe we want to end on cat or cow. It's really just up to us. We'll come back to center once we are ready. We'll take a moment here. It might feel good just to kind of shake out the hands, roll them out if we'd like. I always love that wrist stretch where the top of the hand finds the mat. And I do one hand at a time. That controls how much weight I'm putting into that hand. So if we would like, we'll come into our balancing table flow. So what we'll do is we'll take one leg, and maybe we start with that left leg. We'll let our left leg kick out behind us if we can. This might be our pose today. Maybe we're light on that right hand. We could also be right with the hand sliding out. We could also reach the arm up in front of us. And make that time our own, what feels right for us here. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. And then when we're ready, hand and knee can come down. We might need a moment. Again, we might need to shake things out, a little roll out for the wrists. We might try this in the opposite direction. We might take our opposite leg, that right leg. This could be our pose. Maybe we're light on that left hand. Maybe that left hand slides out. Maybe it reaches out, maybe not. Again, notice what we need. As always, if we find we're lacking space, we can always do things like bend the elbows or bend the knee. Again, notice what we need, adapt to our environment, adapt to those surroundings. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. Now, if we are ready, we're going to find our flow. So we're going to come down for a moment. And again, we might shake things out. We might shrug out or roll out the wrists, whatever we need. And so if we can, on an inhale, we'll bring up our left leg, maybe the right arm as well, maybe not. And then we'll bring that back down. We'll try to the other side, maybe opposite leg lifts and arm, and we come down. We'll try that again where we inhale one side and then come down. And we could inhale the other side and come down. Maybe one more on each side, maybe an inhale for that left side and down. And an inhale for the right side and down. We'll pause here for a moment. Again, a little shake out, a little roll out for the wrists. I always like to err on the side of extra gentle with those wrists. If we're ready, we'll find our way into the child's pose of our choosing. So we might prefer our knees together. We could also have our knees apart. We'll shift back, maybe back and down, maybe not. Maybe those arms can stretch out in front of us, but it's okay if we prefer our hands by our legs, or stacking the forearms and resting our head against that. So just pick what we personally need right now. I'm going to try our best to just be still. Maybe we can notice how our shins feel against the mat, how the forearms feel against the mat, how the forehead feels against the mat. Now, not trying to predict anything. Does that pressure change as we take a breath in and as we take a breath out? As always, we might stay here today. We might even just come back to this pose at any point in our practice for whatever reason. That reason could even be I just need a little extra grounding, and child's pose gives me grounding. If we're ready to find our first downward facing dog, we're welcome to come back up. We might need to readjust the knees. We could readjust the hands. We're going to try our best to let those fingers spread wide as we curl our toes and shift back. Maybe we lift up. Knees could stay bent. Legs could start to straighten out. We might like to pedal out the heels. So as always, making this our own. As you can potentially see, my heels do not touch the ground, and they probably never will. That's just bone structure. So just taking that moment here. Now, mindful that, at least in my class, we go by the literal definition of vinyasa, which means to place in a special way. Another way to define that is deliberate movement. So when I say vinyasa flow, I invite you to do any deliberate movement that feels good. Just because I might be doing a lowering and rising into a back bend does not mean that's something you have to do. So if it works for us, I invite you to come into the vinyasa flow of your choosing. So that might come in the form of rolling into that plank pose. Maybe we've lowered down. Maybe we found a back bend that feels good for us. And if we're coming back, we want to think pressing the belly into the spine so much it lifts us up, maybe to our table. We'll curl the toes and shift back and up. We'll pause here if that's possible, taking that breath in and taking that breath out. Now, when we're ready, we'll find our way into our first forward fold. Now, we might be walking our feet in. We could also walk the hands in or do a hybrid of the two. It's up to us. Now, this is our first forward fold. I invite you to do whatever we might need with it. And what we might do first is just let our head hang heavy. It is human nature to want to hold our head up. That means we can be a little more aware of our surroundings. But this is our chance to practice full surrender. So if we can, we might shake out our head like we've said no. We might nod out our head like we've said yes. And again, we can do whatever we need here. Do we like to sway? Do we like to hold on to our legs? Again, as long as it's not forced, that's one of the biggest rules in my class. We do not force that movement. We'll do another deep breath in and deep breath out. When we are ready, we'll come up to stand. We might press through our feet as we do so those arms could reach up and overhead. And eventually those hands can find our heart. We'll pause here if that's possible. We'll take that moment to breathe. Taking that moment to check in with our heartbeat. Just noticing what happens as we breathe in. Noticing what happens as we breathe out. So if it works for us, we can come into our first chair pose. So we can readjust the feet as we personally need to. We're just going to try our best to let the toes point straight ahead. We'll shift back and down. We're going to do our best to let our knees point straight ahead. Again, we're going to try our best to find that pose. I know for me, I'm inherently knock-kneed, so it takes a lot of effort to not let my knees collapse into each other. So I'm just taking a moment, and that might mean even if our feet are together, there's a little space between them. We're going to try our best to pause. This is one of those poses that we can feel pretty quickly, but can I hold this pose and at least work towards not holding my breath? Can I find that breath in? Can I find that breath out? One more breath. We'll take a deep inhale, and on that exhale, we'll find our forward fold again, and that might mean readjusting. And again, we might need a moment to just shake out the head. We can remind ourselves that when it comes to tension, we don't relieve tension and then it's gone forever. We can relieve tension in the neck. It comes back. We shake it out again. But again, do whatever movement we personally need here. I personally like to sway, but I know people whose inner ear disagrees with swaying, so we might be staying perfectly still. So whatever we need here, we're going to try our best to breathe in and try our best to breathe out. Now, when we are ready, we'll come up to stand. We might soften our knees and press through the feet like we've pressed the floor away from us. We'll let our arms reach up and overhead again, and our hands can find the heart. And we'll pause. We try our best to breathe in. We try our best to breathe out. Now, if we'd like, we will eventually step back into a warrior one. We can relax the arms and we'll get closer to the top of our mat if we would like. So if it feels good, we'll put a little weight into our left leg first. I always like to start on the left side. We're gonna press that left foot down as the right knee lifts, and maybe the toes are down, maybe the toes have lifted, maybe we've rolled out the toes, maybe not. Again, notice where our level of balance is. It's gonna be different on everybody, and it can be different on us day to day. For warrior one, we step our foot back. We let the foot pivot down in the way it feels best for us. We'll try facing forward and we'll let our arms reach. Now, I always like to check in with this pose. When we are here, if anything is going on in the joints of that back leg, we readjust. If that back hip doesn't like it, back knee doesn't like it, back ankle, we might readjust maybe that left foot heel-toed out to the left. Maybe we brought in our right foot a little bit. In this pose, there's a lot of variability. Make it your own. Listen to the joints. We listen when they tell us no. We're going to try our best to breathe in and try our best to breathe out. Now, if it works for us, I invite you to come into a bit of a flow. Our first one will be relatively simple. We're just going to straighten our front leg and let our arms come down. Let our arms get a little heavy if we can. And on our inhale, we'll come back, warrior one. So we might do that again. As we come up, arms just can come down nice and heavy. And then we can come back, warrior one. So we might do that again. So we might come up as the arms relax down. Maybe on an inhale, we can come back, warrior one. One more time, we can come up as the arms come down. And we'll come back, warrior one. We'll pause here if that's possible, taking our moment to breathe in, taking our moment to breathe out. And if we can, we'll add on to that flow. I like to call this our silver surfer flow. We're gonna inhale and just think length in the body. On our exhale, we'll let our arms swing back and we'll let ourselves tilt forward. Kind of like a silver surfer pose in my eyes. As we're ready, we'll come back, warrior one. If we're ready, we'll do that again. Maybe an exhale swings the arms back as we tilt forward. And our inhale brings us back, warrior one. So maybe one more time, we can swing back, deep exhale, and on that inhale, coming back one more time. Pausing here if we can. Full breath in if that's possible. Full breath out. Now in my classes, I love to create a deliberate divergence, as I call it. What we do next is up to us. We might come to down dog or we might come to forward fold or anything in between. As we are ready, I invite you to come into the pose and the movement of your choosing. If that's down dog, that might mean the hands have come down as the back heel has popped up and we stepped our front foot back. But again, this is our time. Maybe we've come to our forward fold instead. Now we might stay here. We can add in the vinyasa flow of our choosing. So that might look like coming to plank. Maybe knees come down. Maybe we've lowered down. Maybe we found a back bend that feels good for us. Maybe there's a lot of pressure in the hands, maybe not. And when we think pressing through the belly to come up, maybe to that table, and then we curl our toes to come back and up. But again, just because I'm cueing that lowering and back bending one way, that does not mean you have to do it that way. Notice what we personally need. We're going to try our best to breathe in and try our best to breathe out. Now as we're ready, we'll come back to our forward fold. Maybe it feels good to walk to the front of our mat. Maybe we prefer to walk our hands and make this your own. We'll add in a halfway lift, and I personally prefer to make these nice and active. We think strong back as the hands come halfway up, and on the exhale, we relax the back. On our inhale, we'll come all the way up. Those arms can reach. And eventually, we'll let our hands come together at the heart, and we'll pause here if that's possible. We'll take that moment to breathe in. And we'll take that moment to breathe out. Now, if we can, we're going to try it on the opposite side. So we can walk closer to the top of our mat if we're not there already. And now we'll put weight into our opposite foot. We're putting weight into that right foot. We'll press that right foot down as that left knee lifts. So maybe the toes are down. Maybe the foot can lift up. Maybe it feels good to roll out the ankle. Maybe not. Again, make that time your own. No judgments. If we are ready, we'll step our foot back. We let our foot organically come down to the ground, and then we'll lift up with the arms. Again, we check in here. We might find we need to heel toe that right foot to the right. We might even find we need to readjust that back leg. Notice what angle we want to bring down that heel. For some people, it's going to be that 45 degrees. Others, it might be a little less than that. Listen to your body. We're going to pause here if that's possible. I'm going to do our best to breathe in. We're going to do our best to breathe out. Now, if we can, we're coming back to that same flow. So as we inhale, we could straighten the leg, arms can come down, and can we let them completely relax? And then we'll come back, warrior one. So we might do that again, pressing through the foot. Arms have come down, and then we come back, warrior one. So we might do that just a few more times. Let the legs come down, arms have relaxed down. Leg can rebend, arms can come up. One more time, pressing through the foot as the arms come down. And then one more time, we can come back, warrior one. Pausing here if that's possible. We'll take that deep breath in. We'll take that deep breath out. Now, if we can, we're going to play with that silver surfer flow. Inhaling, thinking length in the back. On the exhale, we'll let those arms swing back, torso can tilt forward. And on our inhale, we come right back up, maybe pressing through the feet. And on the exhale, we'll come back, swinging those arms back. And on our inhale, we'll come right back up. One more time, we can swing those arms back. We can come back to warrior one, pausing here if that's possible. That deep breath in if we can. That deep breath out. Now again, we're coming into that divergence. What do we personally want to do? Do we want to come to our forward fold or down dog? So again, we're doing the movement we need. If it's down dog, maybe hands have come down and we've stepped our front foot back. Maybe we stay here, maybe we do the movement of our choosing. So if it's that vinyasa flow, we are welcome to come to plank. Knees might come down, that reduces load on our shoulders. We could lower in a controlled way. Find a back bend that feels good. Nothing's forced here. And then make our way back into our resting pose. Now it could be down dog, but it's okay if it is not down dog right now. I'm going to try our best to breathe in. And we're going to try our best to breathe out. Maybe one more full breath here. Now when we are ready, we'll come to the top of our mat. Maybe we walk our feet in, maybe we're hopping, whatever we'd like to do. We're going to find that halfway lift again. Halfway lift, strong back. On the exhale, we could relax that back down. On our inhale, we'll come all the way up. Those arms can reach. And eventually our hands can find the heart. And we'll pause here if we can. And take that moment to breathe in. And we take that moment to breathe out. Now, if we'd like, we'll find our standing crescent moon. We can arrange the feet in the way we want to. Maybe it's hips width. We might prefer wider. We might prefer narrower. We'll let our arms reach up and overhead. Maybe hands are together. Maybe we place that left or right hand over the left wrist. It's up to us. We're going to lengthen out, and we'll go up and over towards the right. Pausing here for a moment. Make that our own. It's not about how much we're making a side bend, but did we find a stretch that feels good on that left side of the back? Maybe we'll even feel it on the left side of our rib cage area, but it's okay if we don't. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. Now, if we're ready, we come back up and we try it in the opposite direction, going up and overhead. So again, notice what we personally need here. We're going to try our best to breathe in. Try our best to breathe out. One more breath. Now, if we can, we'll come back up. We'll let our arms relax down. We might need to shrug them out a little bit. Now, if it feels good, we'll find our standing locust pose. So when we're ready, we'll let our hands go behind the back. We could hook our thumbs, clasp the palms, hands on the wrists or the forearms. It's really just up to us. And we might just shrug our shoulders back, pressing through that belly, lifting through the chest. Maybe those arms can get heavy, maybe they don't. Again, listen to the body. What works for us here? I'm going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. Full inhale if possible. Full exhale. One more breath. Now, if we can, we'll come right back up. We'll take a moment here, just let the back reset a little bit, and we'll come into our forward fold when we're ready. So as we're ready, we can do a little pitching forward and down. And again, just notice what feels good for us here. Hands might stay close to the body. Hands might naturally lift off the body. We might decide this doesn't work for us at all. And so if that's the case, we'll relax the arms down. Maybe just a little shrugging out. Whatever we need here. So again, make that pose your own. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. One more breath. Now, when we are ready, if our hands are behind us, we'll let them go. And again, we might shrug them out, shake out the head, whatever we need. And when we are ready, we'll come up to stand again. We'll press through our feet. We'll let our arms reach up and overhead. And eventually, we'll let our hands find their way to the heart. And we'll pause here. Maybe we can notice our heartbeat again. Just noticing what happens with that breath. Again, trying our best not to predict anything. What happens to our heartbeat as we take a full breath in and a full breath out? And then if we are ready, we might play with our high lunge. So we can relax the arms and we'll get closer to the front of the mat if we're not there already. So same as before, we're going to put weight into our left leg first, pressing that left foot as the right knee lifts. So as we're ready, we'll send that leg back, but this time the heel can stay up. Maybe we can bend our front knee. And if we're feeling stable, arms reach. If at any point we don't have our balance, we keep the arms down. That keeps our center of gravity a little lower. So if it works for us here, we're just going to notice our balance. Again, trying our best not to judge our balance as good or as bad. Some days we're wobbly, some days we're a little more still. We might notice how our feet feel against the mat. That might help us with our balance, because we're returning back to that same flow as before, only now with the back or heel up. So if we're ready, we're going to straighten our front leg and let our arms relax down. And on our inhale, we'll come back, high lunge. So we can exhale and come up as the arms relax. And inhale, or high lunge. One more time, arms can come down as we come up. High lunge when we're ready, pausing if that's possible. And then we play with that silver surfer flow. Inhaling for length. On our exhale, those arms can swing back. Maybe we tilt forward, pressing those feet down. That's going to help us. Pressing the feet more as we come up to high lunge. And again, we might let our arms swing back as we tilt forward. And on an inhale, we might come back, high lunge. One more time, we might let our arms swing back as we tilt forward. Pressing through the feet, we'll come back, high lunge. Pausing here if that is possible. And then we'll do the movement of our choosing. So again, it could be down dog, it could be forward fold. So again, make that our own, step forward or step back. And likewise, we'll do the movement that we personally need. So I've been cueing various ways of lowering down and back bending. For this one, I'm in a forward fold, and maybe I just do some mindful movement. But again, just because I'm doing this movement, that doesn't mean that's movement you have to do. This is your time. This is your practice. I know it can be a little hard if we're watching a fitness video and the instructor tells us to do whatever, but we have that freedom right now. Do whatever. We're going to give it 2 or 3 more breaths, whatever it is we found. Now, if we are in anything other than a forward fold, we will meet in that forward fold. So we'll bring the feet in, bring the hands in, however we want to get there. We'll find our halfway lift. When we're ready, we'll find that flat back, strong, active back if we can. And on the exhale, we'll relax it down. On our inhale, we'll come all the way up, pressing through those feet, letting those arms reach. And as we're ready, hands can find the heart. We'll pause here if we can. We'll take that moment to breathe in. And that moment to breathe out. And again, we might try it on the other side so we can relax the arms. We might get closer towards the front of our mat, or at least have enough space to step back. Now we're putting weight into our right foot, pressing that right foot down as that left knee lifts, and it's up to us. Maybe toes are down, maybe foot is lifted. We might be doing light toe taps. It's up to us. If we are ready, we'll send our foot back. We're going to try our best to let that heel stay up. Arms can reach up as we feel ready. Pausing here if that's possible. Again, noticing our balance. We might try to find one spot on the floor to focus in on. That helps our inner ear. And even as we're moving, maybe we keep our eyes on that one spot. If we're ready, we'll inhale, straightening the legs and the arms completely relaxed down. And an exhale, we'll come back, high lunge. So we could inhale as we come up, and exhale as we come back. One more time, we'll inhale up, we'll exhale back. We'll pause here if that's possible, doing our best to breathe in, doing our best to breathe out. Now, if we are ready, we're coming into that silver surfer flow, inhaling for length. On the exhale, those arms swing back, we tilt forward, maybe still looking at that one spot, and as we're ready, we come up, pressing through those feet, and on our exhale, we'll swing the arms back as we tilt forward. On the inhale, coming right back up. One more time, arms can come back, pressing through the feet, we'll come up, again, pausing here, full breath in if we can, full breath out. Again, we do that deliberate divergence. Do I want a forward fold or down dog? As we are ready, hands come down. We step whatever foot to meet the opposite foot, whether we're stepping back or stepping forward. Again, any movement we need here. If that's our conventional flow, we might be lowering down, finding a back bend that feels good. And I am deliberately not using terminology when talking about lowering and back bending. And then if we're ready, we can find our way into something relatively resting. So that might be down dog, child's pose. If we're in a forward fold, we might just let ourselves hang heavy in a neutral fold, whatever we need here. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. One more full breath, whatever it is we found. Now, if we are ready, we'll all meet in that forward fold. So if we're in anything else, we can bring our hands to meet the feet to meet the hands, whatever we want to do. When we're ready, we'll find our halfway lift. Active back coming halfway up. And on the exhale, we can relax it down. On our inhale, we'll come all the way up. Press through those feet, just helping out the back with that. And eventually, our hands can find the heart. And we'll pause. Now, if we would like, we are welcome to stay in Tadasana, our equal standing pose like we are right now. If we would prefer, we're welcome to bring the arms down and find mountain pose, whether we keep the hands by our side or we rotate them out. It's up to us. It might feel good to close our eyes. And we'll take a moment with this pose. Maybe we can notice how our feet feel against the mat. Maybe we can notice that heartbeat again. We've been doing a lot of physical work, possibly even a lot of mental work in this yoga practice. Maybe the heartbeat is responding accordingly. But again, just noticing. And we might even give ourselves a moment to remember that ideally every pose is like mountain. Those who have taken my class many a time before have heard this spiel, but it never loses its importance. So every pose is ideally like mountain, not in terms of physicality, but in terms of mindset. There is no such thing as advanced mountain. In fact, the idea sounds a little silly. And the idea of potentially risking our safety, especially our physical safety, to get into advanced mountain sounds ridiculous. And I want you to keep that in mind as we play with a pose that can potentially tempt us into trying to come into what we think is the advanced version of the pose. And with that in mind, we'll find our warrior three. So that is a balancing pose. We're welcome to stay on our mat. We're welcome to get off the mat. We're also welcome to get closer to something like a wall, which we can either face the wall head on or be sideways to the wall. It's up to us. So again, we're only going to go to our level, nobody else's. We're going to try our best to think soft knees, especially if you're like me with hyperextended knees. You can kind of lock them out with ease, but we're going to try to soften them right now. And then we'll put weight into our left leg. I'm going to press that left foot down, and I invite you to really focus on that left foot and keep pressing down that left foot as we start to slide the right foot back. So we're going nice and slow with this pose. Continue pressing that left foot down. That's our focus. We might stay here with the toes still on the mat. But if we want to lift that leg, we're going to press our left foot down so much that our right leg starts to lift. And it might be a small lift. We let it be. It might be a larger lift. We might tilt the torso forward and the arms go where we need them to. Maybe they reach behind us. Maybe they're hands at the heart. We can reach in front of us. That is the toughest variation to do. Again, make that time our own. Notice where the challenge is. Notice where our mind goes when we challenge the leg. And it's okay if our balance is getting challenged. It's okay if that left leg is getting tired. We notice that challenge and we breathe in. We breathe out. One more breath. And if we're ready, we'll come back to our standing pose. And we'll take a moment before shaking out the legs, if we can pause. And just notice left leg versus right leg. Just notice those differences. And then maybe if we want to, we can shake them out. Now, if we're ready, we try it on the opposite side. Again, we're trying our best to practice soft knees. It's tougher in the short term, but it's going to help out our knees. And actually, in the long term, it's better for our balance. We're going to press that right foot down. And can we keep focusing on that right foot as we slide the left leg back? Again, can I focus on my right foot? My left toes might stay down. I might press through that right foot. I might lift my left leg, and I might tilt forward. So same rules apply here. Maybe I found that one spot, maybe on the floor, that I can focus in on. That's going to help our inner ear. Arms go however we want our arms to go. Again, make that time our own. Notice where there is challenge. That is where the real yoga kicks in, or at least the really beneficial yoga. Can I notice where my challenge is? Can I notice how I'm getting challenged? And can I still breathe? Can I find that breath in? Can I find that breath out? One more breath. And if we are ready, we'll come back. We might need to shake things out. Now we might give ourselves a moment one more time to just notice left leg versus right leg. There might still be some asymmetry there because we only did the right leg, or we just recently did the right leg. But just noticing that. Now if we can, we'll bring our hands together at the heart one more time. And we'll pause. We notice that heartbeat again. And without trying to predict what the heartbeat's going to do, can we find a full breath in and a full breath out? Now, if we are ready, we'll do a flow back to eventually the resting pose of our choosing. And again, this gets pretty open-ended. We make this time our own. If we would like, we might inhale our arms up and overhead. And on an exhale, we might find our fold. Our inhale, we can find a halfway lift, strong back. On our exhale, we can plant the hands. We're going to do the movement of our choosing. And we might find that movement is coming straight to our down dog, or to table, or to child's pose. Is there a movement we want to do within that pose? And it's okay if the answer is no. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. Now, if we can, I invite everyone who's watching this to come to their child's pose. So if the knees are up, we'll bring the knees down. And maybe we can shift back and eventually back and down. And we'll take a moment with that if we can. Again, if it works for us, I invite you to notice how our shins feel against the mat. I invite you to notice how your forearms feel against the mat. If our forehead can rest on something, and it might be our forearms, it might be the mat, maybe it's something underneath like a blanket or a pillow, maybe just giving ourselves that moment to completely sink into the pose. No muscle engagement, or at least not a lot of overt muscle engagement. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. Now, if we are ready, I invite you to meet me in a seated position. So we get there however we need to. Some like to swing the legs around, others might roll over the shins. Now what we might do is we might extend our legs once we get there. And it might just feel good to shake out the legs a little bit. Maybe we move our feet. I always love this particular movement because it resets the knees and then resets the hips. And what we might do first is come into our bound angle pose. Maybe we can bend our knees and let the soles of the feet meet as the knees go out to the side. Again, we check in here. If the knees or tailbone don't agree with this, we have the option of placing something underneath our knees, especially for home. That might be pillows, it might be couch cushions. It's whatever we need, and if even with support it doesn't work for us, then we come out. But whatever we find, we're going to take a moment. Would we like to be upright in this pose? Another option is to lean back, letting our hands walk behind us, and maybe get a little shoulder stretch as we lift up through the chest. A third option is to tilt forward. So again, there's almost a maddeningly high number of things we could be doing right now. I deliberately structure my classes like this. This is our chance to do the movement we need. If we are given 5 or 6 options, which one would we naturally pick? And as always, we have option 7, none of the above. So whatever pose we found, we're going to try our best to breathe in and try our best to breathe out. Finding that full inhale if we can. Finding that full exhale. Can we give this 3 more breaths? if we are ready, we are welcome to come back up. We can let our knees come back up. We can let our legs straighten out, and we might just need a moment here, maybe a little shake out, maybe we're moving the feet, whatever it's going to serve. If it works for us, we're coming into the twist of our choosing, and this is truly a chance to check in and only do what feels right. We could bring in that right knee. Foot could stay on the inside of the knee. It could cross to the outside of the knee. This leg might stay straight. If it works for us, this is a huge if, we could bend that left knee and bring it closer towards that opposite hip. But we check in, we make sure that left knee is okay with it, both hips are on the ground, and my low back didn't lock up because of it. And if the answer is no to any of those three, we just straighten that leg back out again. So if it works for us, we're gonna get tall through the back. We'll find our twist towards that right side, towards the bent knee, and we're welcome to hold the knee, hug the knee, place a forearm or an elbow on the knee. The only rule is we're not cranking this twist. And so we try our best to breathe in. And we try our best to breathe out. Can we give this 3 more breaths? Now, if it works for us, we're welcome to come back to center, and we'll twist in the opposite direction. So we're welcome to stay upright in this twist. Another option is to plant one hand down or 2 hands down. Keeping the hips where they are, we might walk our hands out. That's a third option. Another option is to reach out that right hand like we're trying to shake somebody's hand, or even tap down at the ground. And all of these options are perfectly valid. We just want to figure out the version we want to do. We'll try our best to breathe in. We'll try our best to breathe out. Now, if we are ready, we can bring ourselves back up into center. We'll uncross our legs, and that might involve letting our weight shift back. We might straighten the legs out for a moment. We might shake out the legs. We might move our feet side to side. So we might try this in the opposite direction. We might take our opposite knee in. We could keep it on the inside or cross it to the outside. Right leg might stay straight. Big if. If it works for us, we're welcome to bend that leg in. Maybe heel found the opposite leg, maybe not. So again, notice, I always like to pause in this pose and just check in. Even if I know this pose is going to feel great for me, I just notice my right knee. Notice the hips. Notice the back. And if we're ready, we'll find our twist. We can think inhaling for length. And on our exhale, we'll twist towards that left side. Again, any configuration with the arms, we want to think this, wherever my arms are, is for support. And we try our best to breathe in. And we try our best to breathe out. Can we give this 3 more deep breaths? Now, if it's possible, we're going to come back to center, and we do that counter twist. So again, we have the option of upright. We have the option of planting 1 or 2 hands down. We have the option of reaching out or reaching to the ground. Make that time our own. What feels good in our unique back? We're just going to try our best to breathe in and our best to breathe out. 1 more full breath. Now, if we can, we come back to center. We can uncross the legs. We might shake them out a little. We might move the feet a little bit. Now, we'll find the forward fold of our choosing, and that's truly of our choosing. Some people like to readjust the hips a little bit. Some people do it purely just by moving the body. If we prefer to use our hands, we can. Now, if we're ready, we could let our knees be straight. We could let our knees be bent, but we will try our best to let our toes point up. And we'll start first in our staff pose. We're gonna get tall in our back, press that belly to the spine. This might even be where we stay today. This is a great pose. It's got great benefits. Hands might be on the legs or on the ground depending on what we need. If we would prefer a forward fold, this is our chance to add that in. So maybe we start to walk ourselves out. So again, however we get there. Now if our hands touch toes, they touch toes. If we find our hands are more on the shins or the knees, then that's where they are. We try our best not to put a value on whether or not we can touch the toes or fold in half. Our focus is not on what it looks like. Our focus is on what it feels like. And if we can, I invite you to notice what it feels like. If the first word in our mind is it feels like punishment, that is our cue to ease back a little bit. But can we notice the sensation? The sensation in our legs, sensation in our back. What happens if we give this 3 more breaths? Now, if we are ready, we are welcome to come back up. We might shake out the legs a little bit. We might move our feet a little bit. Now, if we would like, we'll play with our boat pose before eventually coming down onto our back. So what we might do is we might position ourselves on our mat so there is enough space for our back to come down. And what I like to do personally is I like to readjust until I can find those sit bones. Those are those 2 bottom points of our pelvis, the parts that are closely to the ground. And can I press those sit bones into the ground and get a little taller when I do that? Now, maybe I can press the belly to the spine and keep those 2 engaged as I tilt back. This could be our pose. Pressing those sit bones down as we press the belly in, for a lot of us, changes this pose. Now the hands might stay where they are and they're welcome to be on the knees or tucked under the knees. Another option is to let go of the hands entirely with the feet down. If the low back doesn't agree with this, we place the hands behind us. So again, make that time our own. Maybe we like to come up onto our tiptoes. Maybe we like to lift the feet off the mat. And we might like to lift the feet off the mat with the hands underneath the knees. Checking in what version works for us. That's going to be different on everybody. I'm going to try our best to breathe in. Try our best to breathe out. 1 more breath if we've got it. Now, if we are ready, we'll bring everything back to neutral. We might like to just straighten out through the back. We might move our knees a little bit side to side. And then we'll let our backs find the mat. So it might feel good to walk our hands back. Maybe we need to readjust. Maybe we like to hold on to the knees and roll back. Whatever we need. And what we might do is we might just hug our knees in towards the chest. Maybe we do a little rocking side to side, just massaging out our back. Now, if we would like, we'll do 1 last flow with those arms moving. We'll plant our feet down. We're going to comfortably walk them close to our hips. We're going to try our best to let our knees and our feet stay hips width distance. It's okay if we need to readjust if our joints are telling us otherwise. Now, if we can, we'll start with bridge pose. We'll press our feet down. We'll press them down so much our hips have lifted off the mat. Now, if we can, we'll take our arms and reach them up and overhead, and maybe they can find the ground behind us. If that doesn't feel good, we're welcome to reach straight for the ceiling or bend the elbows, whether the fingers still face up or they find the ground. If we can, we're going to slowly bring those hips down as the arms slowly come down. And if we can, we're going to try our best to let both come at the same time. They came down at the same time. Now, if we can, we'll find our flow. We'll press through the feet on an inhale and let those arms reach up and overhead. And on our exhale, we'll let our hips come down as those arms come down. And we're trying our best to let our hips stay nice and slow so those hands can meet the ground at the same time. Now, if we're ready, we'll continue that flow. We'll inhale as we come up. And we'll exhale as we come back. So again, we could inhale as we come up. We'll exhale as we come back. One more time. We'll inhale as we come up. We'll exhale as we come back. We'll pause once we're down. And we might need to move a little bit. Maybe we like to move the knees side to side, or maybe we come back to hugging the knees and rocking. And we'll check in with our back. We might find that we know that this is going to be better for us than a standard twist on our back. If that is the case, we continue this movement. If it works for us to come into a twist, I invite you to do any twist of your choosing to the right. So that might be a gentle twist. Maybe we have our feet down, the hips are glued onto the mat. We just simply knock the knees over. Maybe it's a little more twist intensive with that right leg straight along the length of our mat. And then we twisted that left knee over towards our right side. Again, make that time our own. We're going to try our best to breathe in. Try our best to breathe out. Now, if we are ready, we're welcome to come back to center. If we did a twist to the right side, we'll make our twist towards the left. And again, any twist of our choosing. We might even prefer to keep our knees stacked one on top of the other, or cross one leg on top of the other. Again, these classes are extremely open-ended. We want to make this time our own. At the end of the day, the only person who knows what's going on in our bodies in terms of what it feels like is ourselves. Maybe we can give this one more breath in and one more breath out. When we are ready, I come back to center, and we might move a little bit. Maybe we like to hug the knees and rock, or maybe we like those windshield wipering knees. We might come back to that supine bound angle. Maybe as the feet come down, the soles of the feet have met and the knees are out towards the side. Again, we check in. Do we need support underneath these knees? If we have yoga blocks, we're welcome to place them under the thighs or the knees. If we don't have yoga blocks, maybe those are pillows, couch cushions. We could stack some blankets or towels underneath them. And if even with support they don't feel good, we don't come into this pose. We come into its inverse, where the knees have come back up, knees have knocked into each other, and we've walked the feet away from each other. I like to call this pyramid legs, because we've effectively made a pyramid with those legs. So whatever pose we found, we'll just take a few moments to find that breath. Can we notice our inhale? Can we notice the exhale? Now maybe we come back to that one breath meditation. And again, we don't have to focus on our breath until the mind inevitably wanders. Not that there's anything wrong with doing that variation. But maybe today, what helps us best is to let the mind do what it needs to do. And then when we feel we are ready, we'll focus all our attention on one breath in and one breath out. And we've come to the last minute of our physical practice before we rest in Shavasana, our relaxation or our resting pose. So this is where that open-endedness gets dialed up to 11. We can do whatever we need right now. We might stay where we are in this pose. We might come out and maybe we like to come into that inverse pose, the counter pose, those pyramid legs. But we can do whatever we need. Is there another posture that we would personally like to add in, whether it helps wind down our practice or round out our practice? So I'm going to give you that next minute to really do what we personally need. I'm going to let it be silent as it has been for class for that minute. After that, I will be playing the singing bowls. Relatively quiet, as I don't want to overload the microphone. Eventually, those singing bowls will fade into silence. Eventually, I will ring my chimes and help guide us back into our easy seat. But truly, whatever we do, which includes when we come to Shavasana, is entirely within your power. Start with a deep breath in and a deep breath out. We are welcome to return small and gentle movement. Notice when we want to essentially jump out of the pose or let that movement be fast and jagged. And can we counteract that? Maybe a little stretch through our fingers and toes, turning that into a stretch through the hands and the feet. Maybe we stretch through the arms and the legs, whether that's down by our side, or we might like to reach our arms up and overhead and do a stretch through the body like that. And we'll add on that movement. So maybe we're moving our legs now, maybe moving our torso. And eventually we'll all meet in our easy seat. So if we're laying down on our backs, we come up in the way we need to. Maybe we roll to one side. We might even like to pause, roll towards one side. But eventually we all make our way back to our easy seat. And we'll let our hands come together at the heart in the way we personally need them to. And if we can, we will finish out our practice with a moment of gratitude, which might come in the form of asking ourselves, if gratitude were a physical sensation, what would gratitude feel like in my body? And then whatever meaning of Namaste resonates for us today, and perhaps today it is the strength and resilience within me recognizes and honors the strength and resilience within you. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your practice. Namaste.